All right, folks, welcome back to the Crisis Report. It is September 21st, 2025. This one is called Larger Than JFK and MLK as it is pertaining to the Charlie Kirk Memorial Service at State Farm Arena in Arizona, where Mr. Kirk is originally from. It was a very, very, very large gathering, and we'll have a lot of numbers for that. But it is the most significant political hit on a person probably since Martin Luther King Jr., okay? And it's had a lot of implications, and we're going to be covering it, but we're going to be going back about 36 hours, okay? And the reason why is I have not been here, and the reason why is because I have been doing a wedding and everything else. So I had a lot of stuff this weekend. So my apologies. And Nodak is asking, that is a hot take. Please explain. And they said, bear independent. So I'm not exactly figuring out what it is you're asking me there, Nodak. I've seen you before, so I know you're a good dude here. If you want to ask me the question directly as to what you're asking, I will do my best to answer it while we have a moment. To start, we are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. If you are possibly considering taking your IRA and turning it into precious metals, this is one of the best companies out there. Literally, look at the ratings. Better Business Bureau. You just set up information. There's a link, and it's in the sponsorship area. And you click on that, and then you set up an information session, and you go from there. And they tell you about what they do, how they do it, why they do it, and then you either agree to do it or you don't, and then you move on with your life. So that is the deal with that. I guess Nodak is not going to answer that. So, all right, well, we'll move on. All right, friends, this is your crisis report for September 21st, 2025, and we are going to go do it here. This is all on Nodak. You said that's a hot take. Please explain. There's nothing else in the chat, so I'm wondering if you're asking me a question, and I would lovingly tell you exactly what I mean. Then you followed out by Bear Independent. So, are you speaking to me as I have you here? Is there something about my hot take, or is that just like a comment to something else, which is totally fine. So I'm trying to figure out what you're asking, my friend. So, give him a second. Yeah, Bears talking about Darby. Yeah, I'd say that. Okay, sorry. I see what you're doing. Yeah, Bear knows what he's talking about. So, I would agree with that. I'd say a few years to a war with China. Yeah, that's why we're taking protective measures in my family right now, as you should. That's why we're preppers. I don't see good things on the horizon. So, anyway, it's all good, Water Tiger. I appreciate you explaining what he was saying. So, basically, said that's a hot take. He was asking and saying that Bear Independent was at talking about a DARPA meeting that he attended, and he anticipates a war with China within 3 years, and I think his timing is pretty spot on. So, all right, friends, let's get going. God bless you all. Thanks for being here. Super excited. My parents got baptized again, so they're in a, I don't know. I saw the pictures. It was moving, so put me in a good mood. So. All right, 5 minutes we're in. That way, the person that goes, and you start in 5 minutes. We can put that into the chat or whatever the comments. So you guys can know exactly where it is because we don't want to waste anybody's time. Here we go. Mass protesters disrupted Charlie Kirk's vigil, showing blatant disrespect for the American flag. This starts late Friday into Saturday morning. Okay, this is the 36-hour mark. Trump administration is asking Congress to approve nearly $6 billion in weapons to Israel. Panel of JAB advisors voted to end the CDC's recommendation that people of all ages will receive the Rona shots. President Trump says the real causes behind the rise in autism will be unveiled next week. He said even at the Kirk thing, memorial, that is a big announcement. Big announcement tomorrow. Multiple gunshots have been reported in an ABC News studio in Sacramento. They have gotten that guy. Bomb threat was reported at the home of RFK Jr. The scene is now being actively secured. Jimmy Kimmel is lowering up, preparing for a battle with Disney after they pulled a show. Federal judge in Florida dismissed Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times. Now, what is to know is that he didn't say he could come back. It was some of the legal mumbo jumbo wasn't right. So he can come back and do it again. Taiwan's All-Out Defense Mobilization Agency released an updated civil defense handbook emphasizing wartime scenarios in the new version. U.S. Congress members have sent letters to France, Canada, the UK, and Australia to reject unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly. They've all come out. That's big news tonight. Trump on TikTok says we're going to have very good control. We have an American. These are American investors, all of them, and they all love our country. They'll have control of it. Trump signed the gold card executive orders expediting H-1B visas for up to fee for up to $2 million and imposing a $100,000 annual sponsorship fee for regular applicants. We have some updates on that. There's some ins and outs that you need to know. Trump says he's going to meet Xi Jinping at the South Korea APEC summit, travel to China early next year. Trump raised the fee for the high-tech visa to $100,000. Basically, they come over here to work on an H-1B. They have to spend $100,000 up front. There are some caveats for it, but honestly, I kind of like where it's going with everything. We'll get more at the end of the show. George Soros has given $10 million to boost California Governor Gavin Newsom's redistricting campaign. Can we RICO him for the love of God? United States vetoed a motion from the UN Security Council calling for a Gaza ceasefire, release of hostages, and easement of humanitarian aid. Entire UN Security Council, except for the United States, voted in favor, 14-1. NBC News reported that the Pentagon officials are considering a new recruiting campaign centered on honoring Charlie Kirk by enlisting. I heard that's BS. I don't know if that's true or not. For the first time, Iran has started exporting MGT-70 gas turbines. Russia has ordered 40 of them to replace the German Siemens-made ones of the V9 4.2. These turbines are used in the production of electricity and will increase Russia's electricity production by an additional 5 gigawatts. UN Security Council fails to adopt the resolution to maintain Iran sanctions relief under the 2015 nuclear deal. Only Russia, China, Pakistan, and Algeria voted in favor, while 9 members, including the U.S. and Europeans, triggered the snapback mechanism. Then, in a joint statement, China and Russia officially announced that they consider the snapback of UN sanctions against Iran as illegal and invalid, and that they will not abide by them. They will continue to do business with Iran as usual, regardless of UN sanctions. Taliban has banned books written by women in 18 university subjects in Afghanistan, including courses on women's rights and gender studies, claiming they conflict with Sharia law. Around 140 books by female authors and hundreds by Iranian writers were removed from curricula. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt recently received Secret Service protection following the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Israeli Defense Minister Katz says, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, your time will come. You will be sent to meet your government delegation and envoys of the axis of evil who are waiting for you in the depths of hell. Slogan, Death to Israel, curse upon the Jews, written on the Houthi flag, will be replaced by the blue and white Israeli flag that will fly in the capital of the United Yemen. Ooh, them's fighting words. Let's say India and Pakistan go to war. Will Saudi Arabia get involved under the new pact? Pakistani Defense Minister Khawaja Asif said, yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. So Saudi Arabia now has nuclear weapons by proxy. Venezuelan defense minister said there is an undeclared war in the Caribbean, correct? France says the annexation of the West Bank is a clear red line. 10 countries, including France, will recognize Palestinian state at the conference on Monday in New York. Government of Estonia has decided to request NATO Article 4 consultations. 2 Russian fighter jets performed a low pass over the Petro-Baltic platform in the Baltic Sea. Trump says, I am pleased to host President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey at the White House on September 25th. We're working on many trade and military deals with the president, including the large-scale purchase of Boeing aircraft, a major F-16 deal, and a continuation of the F-35 talks, which we expect to conclude positively. Italian port of Ravenna blocked 2 trucks carrying arms to Israel amid growing protests by dock workers and unions over Israel's offensive in Gaza. Italy's largest trade union, CGIL, plans national strikes with more port blockades expected in Genoa and Livorno. Lithuanian defense minister, NATO border in the northeast is being tested for a reason. Turkey set an example 10 years ago, some food for thought. Trump administration is considering launching a website, possibly branded as Trump RX, to help Americans buy discounted prescription drugs directly from pharmaceutical companies. Plan aim is to cut prices in line with other countries and bypass middlemen like pharmacy benefit managers. So, yeah. Hey, chat, just checking on over. Wow, we have 60 people. That's impressive. Remember when we used to get hundreds, like multiple hundreds, like 300 to 400? I remember that. Strangest thing, January 21st, 2025, everything changed. I don't know what happened that day, but it's just crazy how that one day, just everything just kind of went different. Russian jets have entered Estonian airspace. Did you see that as a threat to NATO? Trump said, I don't love it when that happens. Could be big trouble. They will brief me about that. Trump and the media says they take a story and they make it bad. I personally think that it is illegal. And he said that when 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that is no longer free speech. That is just cheating. Well, actually, it's just called being a mouthpiece for the Democrat Party. Okay? So they weren't stupid in the 1990s when the Telecommunications Act went in. They started to load up all of the media companies with as many Democrats as possible. And now you have what you have. Do the Russians in Estonian airspace behave arrogantly? Estonia's prime minister said they have behaved in exactly the way we expect from the Russians. The United States is quietly pausing some arms sales to Europe, especially Patriot missile systems, as part of an America First push to reserve limited stockpiles for the United States use. So, this is the AP class, baby. You got that right, Nodak. I like you, Nodak. This is where the smart kids are. That's right. You're right. We don't got all these masses, unwashed masses of dumb rhymes with passes. The U.S. quietly pausing some arms sales to Europe. Got that one. Swedish Air Force, which is part of the NATO contingent deployed in Estonia, releases pictures of the manned Russian MiG-31 jets flying inside Estonian airspace. I read a comment that said, if this really was some kind of a big deal, they would have sent the, not the MiGs, the other one, the SUs, the 31s. The MiGs are the old school ones. So this is kind of, we're going to, rattle your cage, but we're not really doing anything. And by the way, it was over an island in the middle of the Lake NATO. So this whole thing is being made out to be more than what it actually is. And a lot of people think it's because, well, people on the West are looking to push it to a war. Just saying. Polish border guard has reported that a pair of Russian fighter jets are performing low passes over Poland's Lotos Petro-Baltic oil platform in the Baltic Sea. Ruh-roh. Hold on real quick. And we're good. Sorry. There you go. First is unmanned aerial vehicles over Poland and Romania, and today Russia moved into Estonian aerospace with manned aircrafts, intentional or not, and to add to that, the Russian MiG jets, which entered Estonian airspace, were armed. Estonia invokes NATO's Article 4 after Russia fighter jets breached the country's airspace. Estonia's prime minister says that this morning 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered Estonian airspace. NATO fighter responded with the Russian planes were forced to flee. Such violations are totally unacceptable. The government of Estonia has decided to request NATO Article 4 consultations. That's not Article 5. Article 5 is the war one. Article 4 is like shared responsibility or whatever, like shared resources. White House has raised the visa for H-1Bs to $100,000 per year per person that comes here. India. The White House modification of the H-1B program, any H-1B currently outside America at 12 midnight tonight will be denied entry until their employer pays the updated $100,000 visa fee, despite there being no federal treasury system portal to pay such a fee. H-1Bs, the majority of which are given to Indians, are often used on frequent flyers who return to India carrying precious metals as remittances to avoid taxation on exit and entry to India. Aside from congressional intervention, this is the most severe de facto restriction on the H-1B visa available to the administrator's executive branch powers, which, while still allowing the odd European doctor or scientist to stay in America. We're going to have a lot more like clarity on this here pretty soon. Andy Ngo's got a scoop. According to a source not authorized to speak on record, there are those in the United States government actively working to designate Antifa as an FTO or foreign terrorist organization. This is the move required to give the president's declaration teeth. It would open up significant avenues for prosecution and sanctions, as decentralized American Antifa networks often work with their international partners to promote anarchist and communist violent extremism, solicit attacks on targets, and provide instructional materials on methods for attacks, including infrastructure and government officials. Those who carry out attacks and kill are glorified and celebrated by Antifa. Tonight, September 19th, 2025, told you it's old, dozens of thousands of Argentine citizens gathered in central Cordoba to participate in Argentine President Javier Milei's first rally for the upcoming October 2025 elections. It's expected, per current polls, Milei's Libertarian Party, La Libertad Avanza, and its conservative ally, Republican Proposal, will win together between 42 and 46% of Argentine parliament seats on the upcoming midterm elections, allowing Milei to carry out all of his agenda to forcefully liberalize Argentine stagnant economy after nearly 100 years of Peronism. Trump officially signs executive order to impose the $100,000 on the H-1Bs. 70% of all H-1B holders are Indians. The goal is to make companies think twice before hiring foreign talent unless they're truly essential. During the war with Iran, the Israeli security chiefs called to end it on the 4th day. Stunned by Iran's continued counterattacks and massive blows to Israel, many Israeli security chiefs wanted it to stop. This is when Netanyahu called the U.S. to join immediately. Massive boycott of Israeli products is taking place around the world. Supermarkets are now forced to cover up Made in Israel labels so that sale doesn't fail. They marked these Israeli mangoes as made in Spain. Macron announced that France will recognize Palestine on Monday. French president announced that during the UN General Assembly session in New York, Paris will officially recognize the Palestinian state. Trump is threatening Venezuela. He demanded Venezuela take back prisoners and patients from insane asylums forced into the United States, labeling them monsters. Quote, "Get them the hell out of our country right now, or the price you pay will be incalculable," end quote. Trump threatens to Taliban in Afghanistan after they rejected any deal for U.S. redeployment to their country. If Afghanistan doesn't give back Bagram Air Base to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. And just in, UK Prime Minister Starmer announces that Britain will formally recognize the state of Palestine tomorrow. Taliban warned Trump that Bagram Air Base will not be returned to the Americans. We are ready to fight with them for another 20 years. Australia will unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly today, according to a senior Trump administration official. And from beheading people in Syria and a $10 million bounty on his head to having fun around New York, Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa, former commander of the ISIS and al-Qaeda, has arrived in New York City for a UN meeting. Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaibani directed attention to lovely New York City skyline as they basked in the sun. So jihadi. United Kingdom, Australia, Canada just officially recognized the state of Palestine. Portugal officially recognizes Palestine. Netanyahu, with a warning to the whole world after the recognition of Palestine, said there will be no Palestinian state west of the Jordan. He promised to aggressively expand the illegal settlements on the Palestinian territory. Quote, we have doubled the Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria, West Bank, Palestine, and we will continue on this path, end quote. Musk and Trump are sitting side by side at Charlie Kirk's memorial for the first time after Elon Musk accused Trump of the files list being on him. Nuclear-armed Pakistan's mutual defense agreement with Saudi Arabia may have a cascading effect in the Arabian Peninsula, as Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar hinted that other countries are also showing interest in forging similar pacts with Islamabad. Forging. Dominican Republic reports U.S. attack on drug-running boats near its coast, authorities say. Israel's Netanyahu tells Western leaders there will be no Palestinian state. I actually have a lot more of a, craziness. His formal thing, his formal, whole thing. Sorry, I'm looking back. Chat. There we go. There we go. The language of NATO is troubling. Lisa, Article 4 says, let's talk about this. Or Article 5 says, let's go. Correct. There you are. Look at you. Look at you talking to each other in the old chizat. Keep it up, folks. Israel's Netanyahu tells Western leaders that there will be no Palestinian state. President Trump is planning to meet a select group of Arab and Muslim leaders on Tuesday on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly meeting in New York to discuss ways to end the war in Gaza. Tucker Carlson at Charlie Kirk's memorial said, quote, this is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. I think I've ever seen. Whatever happens next in America, I hope it is in this direction. God is here. You can feel it. Charlie would have loved this. North Korea's Kim Jong-un says, I still have a good memory with U.S. President Trump, according to KCNA. Erica Kirk forgives the killer of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, saying, that young man, I forgive him. President Trump says, we think we found an answer to autism and we will make the biggest announcement medically in the history of the U.S. tomorrow from Oval Office. Here's an analyst comment. That analyst would be me. If they're going the way I think they're going with this thing, if you are a lawyer in the pharmaceutical base of things or anything that, if you have any experience, you might want to get ready because the cash cow is coming. Because if that happens and it's going the way I think it's going, there's going to be a lot of companies going to get the absolute crap sued out of them. If I figured out something happened to my kid because they were doing whatever, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Don't mess with people's kids. Don't mess with people's kids. European airports have been hit by a massive cyber attack on a third-party system provider, crippling check-in and boarding operations and causing widespread flight delays and chaos. We'll have a little bit more on that. Our man was taken into custody after posing as a law enforcement officer to enter Charlie Kirk's memorial site. Joshua Runkles was identified and arrested inside Charlie Kirk's memorial at State Farm Stadium after being found with a knife and a firearm. It actually has come out that he was running security for a dignitary. So he did things improperly, which is why this happened. But it doesn't look like anything was nefarious. So, organized left-wing groups are planning to protest Charlie Kirk's funeral, vowing that they won't allow him to rest in peace because they're pieces of crap. President Trump demands the Department of Justice speed up criminal indictments for Adam Schiff, James Comey, Letitia James, and others. Multiple victims reported in a shooting at Sky Meadow Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire. Covered that one tonight on the PrepperNow channel. One person was killed. Basically, a guy came into a country club, and he was at the entry. There was a wedding going on, but he was more in the entry area, and he killed one person. Scream Free Palestine. Podium at Charlie Kirk's funeral is enclosed in bulletproof glass, something rarely seen at an indoor event. Fewer than 10 counter-protesters showed up outside Charlie Kirk's memorial service. Meanwhile, more than 3 million people are tuning in to watch Charlie Kirk's memorial service across multiple live streams. Qatar demands a public apology from Israel for the attack in Doha, or will refuse to return as mediator with Hamas. Israel should reject the demand. First things first, expel Hamas leaders and end any funding, guidance, or assistance to them. Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel is ready to end the war in Gaza if these conditions are met. Number 1, all hostages freed. Number 2, Hamas disarms. Number 3, Hamas leaders go into exile. Number 4, Gaza is fully demilitarized. Shouldn't all countries demand the same? Question mark. Well, remember the shipment of Caterpillar 9 D9 bulldozers to Israel that Biden administration had halted? Well, they're now here, and they're ready to roll into Gaza to demolish the terror bases because there will be no peace. There's going to be no deal. There's going to be war, war, war. And there's a trouble in paradise. Greta just got booted from the lead flotilla boat after ongoing clashes with staff. Now she's stuck in a smaller one. They love her for the publicity. Can't stand her in reality. I would agree with that, but she's annoying AF. On the morning of Britain's recognition of the Palestinian state, a Telegraph poll reveals some overwhelming opposition in the UK to unconditional recognition. 89% of Labour voters, even them, oppose the move. An absolute majority of 51% of the British people object to recognition as long as Hamas controls Gaza. Another 40% demand conditions of dismantling Hamas and returning the hostages. But of course, these Western governments just rewarded Hamas. I'm not surprised by this. The average Brit and the government are not aligned. Israeli airstrike on Lebanon has killed 4 U.S. citizens, including 3 children. Angelina Jolie says, I don't recognize my country. That's correct, because first of all, it's not your country. And number 2, it's a very diverse country. Yeah. Your country, I'm sure you go to California. Your country is your country. This is a big country, and there's going to be all kinds of different looks to it. So you better get over yourself. In fact, try Africa. Go move down there. White House posts a picture of Elon Musk and President Trump sitting together at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. 1,072 illegal migrants crossed the English Channel in 13 small boats on Friday, bringing the total to a record 32,103 this year in the United Kingdom. Cyber attack on Collins Aerospace, which is a global service provider for check-in and boarding systems, caused flight delays and cancellations at European airports. Palantir makes the UK its European headquarters for defense after signing a 1.5 billion sterling UK defense deal. EU plans to release 550 million euros in frozen funds to Hungary to gain support for its latest sanctions against Russia. And Saudi Arabia has pledged $368 million in aid to Yemen's government in Aden. So, yeah. Hi, chat. 30 minutes in. Pentagon, new rule in the interest of national security demands. Journalists sign a 10-page agreement to only release information to the public that has been Pentagon approved, even if it's unclassified. Trump threatens to the Taliban in Afghanistan. Afghanistan Army Chief says we reject the U.S. President's statements regarding the recovery of Bagram Air Base. Russia has declared it will seize the financial assets of international Satanists and place them on its terror watch list. Israeli military says an armored division will now deepen the fighting in Gaza City. Israel categorically rejects the declaration of the recognition of a Palestinian state made by the United Kingdom and some other countries, the foreign ministry has announced. Netanyahu said that a Palestinian state will not be established west of the Jordan, response to the latest attempt to impose us on a terror state in the heart of our land will be given after my return from the United States. Wait for it. Netanyahu is considering annexing part of the West Bank in retaliation, but wants to get the green light from the U.S. Hamas welcomes the recognition of a Palestinian state by the UK, Canada, and Australia, calling it a key step affirming the Palestinians' right to their land and sacrifices. Group urged immediate action to stop the war in Gaza, end annexation in the West Bank, and isolate Israel internationally. Israel has detected Egyptian military buildup in the Sinai, asked Trump administration to pressure Egypt to scale down the buildup. Charlie Kirk's funeral now has officially more people in attendance than Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy's funerals. President Trump's entire cabinet was in attendance for the Kirk memorial service, and a total of 3 million viewers clocked so far watching the Charlie Kirk memorial service live across multiple platforms. Puerto Rico has emerged as a key strategic hub and foreign operating base for the U.S. military, from which it can launch strikes and ISR operations in support of the expanding counter-narcotics mission. United States Air Force MQ-9 Reaper drones, USMC F-35B Squadron, U.S. Navy surface combatants, U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidons, United States Coast Guard cutters, and that's called the tip of the spear. And about that new $100,000 fee for the H-1B visas will be devastating for the U.S. healthcare system. Don't worry, I got good news, but this is what would have happened. 30% of residents are international medical graduates. 10,000 of 43,000 residency spots are filled by docs with H-1B visas. Previously, the H-1B fee was under $5,000. No hospital will pay a $100,000 fee for a $55,000 a year resident salary. In 2016, there were 10,500 H-1B holding physicians in the U.S., according to the Journal of American Medicine Association. In the 2025 match, 9,761 international medical graduates, or IMGs, secured first-year residency positions in the United States. Heavy truck sales in the U.S. are shrinking at a rapid pace. Heavy truck sales are a good indicator of an upcoming economic recession. Electricity demand of China is larger than the demand of Europe and the U.S. combined. Layoffs announced in Germany. Past 12 months, Volkswagen 35,000, Benz 40,000, Audi 7,500, Ford 2,900, Merca, Daimler 5,000, ZF Group 14,000, Bosch Continental Schaeffler 7,000. Since 2022, Germany's chemical and petrochemical industry has lost an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 jobs due to high energy costs and reduced production, mirroring the automotive sector's decline. Closure of nuclear power plants in 2023 and the Nord Stream pipeline disruption in 2022 have driven gas prices up, making energy-intensive chemical production less viable in Germany. Major companies like BASF have announced significant job cuts, 2,600 positions eliminated globally, most in Germany, as they're shifting investment to regions with lower energy costs. Production in the chemical sector fell by 3.8% in quarter 2, 2025. Compared to the previous quarter, capacity utilization dropped 72%, lowest in 30 years. Many chemical firms are relocating operations abroad, 37% of industrial companies considering moving due to energy price pressures exacerbating deindustrialization. German government is grappling with these challenges, proposing subsidies and tax cuts, but the sector's competitiveness remains threatened by global competitors like the US and China. It's almost like they're shooting themselves in the foot so they die, so Asia rises. Meanwhile, German politicians talk about starting a rearming program and building an army at the same time financially and militarily supporting Zelensky's regime in Ukraine, while German industry is disappearing right before their eyes. Usually once it begins to build an army while industry is growing and not shrinking, but that's because they're basically a bunch of stupid heads. Lithuanian Defense Minister Dovilė Sakalienė stated that the NATO countries should shoot down Russian fighter jets if they breach NATO airspace like Turkey did in 2015. Lithuania is a country of under 2.9 million people. By comparison, population of Moscow is 13 million. Iran suspends all cooperation with the IAEA after the E3 snapback sanctions have come back into effect. Trump administration has also clarified to the Times of India that the $100,000 fee does not apply to any existing visa holder, whether they are outside the country or not. Those who are visiting or leaving the country or visiting India, they don't need to rush back before Sunday to pay the $100,000 fee. The $100,000 is only for new, not current, existing holders, because it was a smart move. They do that, it would cause chaos. They're saying going forward, you can't do this. So that means that the Indian pipeline is being stopped. And also, there's this thing online that I saw called Operation Clog the Toilet, where they wanted people to mess with the flight reservation thing. So anybody that had to go back, which of course now they don't have to, but they would basically make it so they can't get back in time. They'd clog the airline reservations. Pretty funny. All for naught. Eric Schmidt, New York Times writer on X, clandestine deployment of the U.S. Special Operations Forces in the Caribbean suggest that strikes or commando raids inside Venezuela might be in the works. And that's right, YouTube. Everybody's going to want to become left-wing, correct? No, actually, it's not. People are going more conservative because they're sick of the crazy. A right-wing wave is sweeping across Europe, even though it's taking a little bit of time to affect our video platforms. Marine Le Pen's National Rally is #1 in France. Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy is #1 in Italy. Right-wing Freedom Party is #1 in Austria. Right-wing AfD is #1 in Germany. In fact, I bet most of the places are kind of leaning towards the conservative now. And at one point, someday, our friends in our immediate spaces will start to figure out that they chose the wrong team. That is your crisis report for September 21st into 22nd, 2025. Friends, hit that like button, do the subscribe thing, darken out the bell, get your notifications. We are brought to you by Augusta Precious Metals. We are also brought to you by OUPES. If you are thinking about taking, getting a solar generator, go to OUPES, OUPES. They've got a 52% off sale, and your generators have gone from the 600s to the 300s. So it's a good time. Other than that, folks, we appreciate you being here. God bless you all, and we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. We'll be right here doing the things, getting the intel. We'll have another crisis report alert tomorrow in the afternoon sometime, and the intel will keep flowing. We appreciate all of you. Tell people about the channel, please. I have been at 10,600 subscribers for roughly a year. So we're not in the algorithm, folks, okay, because they love Satan. So if you could help us and push us and let them know that affectionately their political horse is getting the ish kicked out of it because people think they're dumb, and that kind of folks are more towards the center right. Hopefully they'll wake up. And if not, we'll be here anyway. God bless you all. Have a great night.